What is going on, traders? Happy Thursday. Thank you guys so much for tuning back into the channel today. I do want to apologize for late upload today. And I am sorry if the audio sounds a bit weird. I am filming in a different room than normal. But let's get right into today's recap. And as you guys can see from the screen, unfortunately, today was a pretty big red day for me, right? So in terms of my day trading, I was down about $80 on SQQQ and another $43 on TQQQ, right? So I was down about $125 in terms of my day trading. And as you guys can see, I did lose, a decent amount of more money on my swing positions. As you guys know from yesterday's video, I mentioned that I bought into Google, Meta, and Microsoft, right, with about $2,000 each. And today the market did continue to bleed, so it did bring them down with it, right? Unfortunately, so I was down about, in terms of the whole account, about $300. So pretty hefty red day. I do, still plan on holding these long term. The plan hasn't changed just because there was simply one red day. But let me break down exactly, how my trading went and what I think led to me ending red on the day. But as you guys can see, I started trading at 6:36, didn't stop till 12:45, so I was trading for quite a while. And so what did I see going on? Well, looking at the Nasdaq, I noticed that pre-market we were selling off pretty aggressively, right? We were making these lower highs, lower lows, and trading between the middle and bottom VWAP, right? So what that was signifying to me was that, the market was obviously downtrending. And so what ended up happening at market open? Well, as we see, the market, right, shot up similar to yesterday's pattern, then it got rejected, right, and it started to fall. And so unfortunately, I wasn't able to get in on this push, right? This thing started to fall very aggressively. And so where I really lost money was trying to, predict where SQQQ was going to continue to sell off as this thing started to change direction here, right? So ultimately, this thing had a nice sell-off, started to change direction. I kept getting caught on the fake outs, right? Trying to get into SQQQ, thinking that the ETF itself was going to continue to sell off, but that's not what happened, right? As you guys can see, I was down $80 on SQQQ, even though, it was in the green on the day. And the main reason for that, as I mentioned, was these constant changes in direction made me think that we were going to finally switch to TQQQ, right? And it would cause me to lose money once direction would change again. So as this thing would sell off, I would be trying to get into SQQQ, right? And as it would pick back up, try to sell off, it eventually would change direction, right? So I'd get burned on SQQQ. Then when I finally would switch to TQQQ, it would change direction, right? So I definitely struggled in terms of finding true direction on the day, especially right around this area. This thing changed direction, pulled on back, and once we saw this double bottom here, I thought we were going to continue to rally on the day, but that's not what ended up happening, right? There wasn't enough momentum, not enough bulls in the market to try to drive it up, unfortunately, and it continued to sell off all throughout market close, right? And so why did I think there was lots of potential for this thing to recover? Well, if we see, the past 10 days, the way the Nasdaq's traded, right? We will notice, especially the past few days, the Nasdaq has been absolutely tanking, right? Like crazy. And anytime it tends to tank, doesn't mean it has to, but it typically consolidates, then it has a nice reversal like we saw here. So once this thing tanked, right, I loaded up on some shares of Microsoft, right, Facebook, as you guys saw, or Meta, and Google, because I thought that we were gonna do what we did here, where we consolidate after this big sell-off and then push up, but that's not what ended up happening, right? This can continue to sell off, get rejected by the EMA, and so we are pretty oversold. It wouldn't be too surprising if we did experience a nice green day, but at the same time, right, on the bigger time frames, we are still bearish, and we can obviously, there's lots of selling pressure. This thing can continue to fall, doesn't mean it has to reverse now, right, before it continues to fall. So I do want to make you guys aware of that. So unfortunately, because as I mentioned, the Nasdaq did sell off today, right? As you guys can see, Google, which I bought into, right, yesterday at market close, it ended up selling off a decent amount more. Same with Microsoft, right? I bought in yesterday at market close, as you guys can see, and it ended up selling off yet again pretty aggressively. Same with Meta here, right, or Facebook. I bought in yesterday at market close, and this thing had a pretty nice red day. So unfortunately, right, it does suck that I was down a big amount, but long term, right, as you guys will notice, the Nasdaq itself is pretty oversold, right? We were having these really nice pullbacks, and so because of the fact that the Nasdaq pulled back, it brought a lot of these big tech stocks with it. And so I'm excited, right? Stuff like Meta, guys. If you guys take a look at Meta from its all-time highs, right? What will you guys notice? It's at $90 a share right now. It's hit highs of $384, right? So the return, potential return, if this thing were to reverse itself to previous highs, is over 350%. That's pretty ridiculous, right, guys? Even Snap itself, I was taking a look. Snap is at such a good deal in terms of where it typically tends to trade long term that I've actually been thinking about picking up some shares here. It's at about $10 a share and it's traded at $83, right, guys? So just imagine the return. Even just half of that return would be over 300%. So this also looks attractive to me and I will be keeping an eye out on it long term. But that's pretty much everything for today's video, right, guys? We haven't found a bottom yet. We don't necessarily know where it will be. It can continue to sell off, as I mentioned. But given, the big sell-offs we have been having, wouldn't surprise me if we had a nice green day. But as I mentioned, we can continue to sell off, given that the bearish, selling pressure is still existent there, right? But we're just gonna have to tune in tomorrow and see what happens. Thank you guys so much, though. That's everything I wanted to cover today. If you guys are new to the channel, we do appreciate you dropping a like and subscribing. It really helps us out. But other than that, if you guys have any questions at all, want me to break down any stock for you or any stock indicator, go ahead and drop a comment and I am more than happy to do that. But that's pretty much everything. I'm going to be posting a video, so I will see you guys then. Take care and have a good rest of your night.